Marcus Thompson stood in the hospital break room, his blue maintenance uniform still damp from mopping the emergency wing. At 32, he had the build of someone who once played college football, but life had taken him down a different path. His calloused hands gripped the mop bucket handle as he watched her through the doorway. Eleanor Grace sat at the small table by the window, her silver hair pulled back in an elegant bun that somehow made her look both professional and approachable. At 28, she was younger than her prematurely gray hair suggested, a genetic gift from her mother's side that she wore with quiet dignity. The evening city lights twinkled behind her as she sipped her coffee, reviewing patient charts with the same focus she brought to everything. Marcus had been working at Mercy General for 6 months now, taking evening shifts while attending community college during the day. His engineering degree was 2 years away, but the bills wouldn't wait. Every Tuesday and Thursday, their paths crossed during the 7 o'clock break, and every time he found himself lingering just a moment longer. Tonight was different. The hospital's annual charity gala was next week, and staff members were encouraged to attend. Marcus had overheard the other nurses teasing Eleanor about not having a date. They didn't know what Marcus had observed, how she always brought extra sandwiches and left them in the break room fridge with no name, knowing the cleaning staff often skipped meals. How she stayed late to comfort patients who had no visitors. How she treated everyone, from the chief surgeon to the newest janitor, with the same genuine respect. Taking a deep breath that expanded his broad chest, Marcus walked into the break room. Eleanor looked up, and her tired eyes brightened with that warm smile she seemed to reserve just for him. "Long shift, Marcus?" she asked, setting down her pen. "The usual," he replied, his deep voice betraying none of the nervousness he felt. "Actually, Eleanor, I wanted to ask you something." She tilted her head, curious. The fluorescent lights caught the subtle blue tones in her gray hair, making it shimmer like moonlight. "The hospital gala next Friday," Marcus began, then paused. He knew what people would think. A janitor asking a nurse to a formal event. But something in Eleanor's eyes encouraged him to continue. "I was wondering if you'd like to go with me as my date." The silence stretched between them like a held breath. Eleanor's expression shifted through surprise, then something softer, almost vulnerable. "Marcus," she said quietly, "are you sure?" "The gala tickets are $300 each," he nodded, having saved for weeks just for this possibility. "I'm sure. Though I should warn you, my dancing skills peaked at my high school prom in 2010. Eleanor laughed, a genuine sound that filled the sterile room with warmth. Mine peaked around the same time. "We'll be perfectly matched in our mediocrity. Is that a yes?" "It's absolutely a yes." The week passed in a blur. Marcus rented a tuxedo, practiced his rusty dance moves in his studio apartment, and tried not to think about how out of place he might feel among the hospital's donors and board members. He picked Eleanor up at her apartment, a modest building that surprised him with its simplicity. She emerged in a navy blue evening gown that complemented her eyes, elegant but understated. "You clean up nice, Mr. Thompson," she said, taking his offered arm. "You look beautiful, Eleanor. Though you always do." The gala was held at the Grand Ballroom downtown. As they entered, Marcus noticed how some people did double takes, not at him, but at Eleanor. Whispers followed them, but Eleanor seemed oblivious, focused entirely on him. They danced to songs that reminded them both of simpler times, laughing when they missed steps. During a slow song, as Marcus held her close, Eleanor spoke softly. "There's something I should tell you, Marcus. About who I am." "I know who you are," he said simply. "You're the woman who stays 3 hours past her shift to hold a dying patient's hand. Who learns the names of every person in this hospital? Who sees people, not positions?" "That's not what I mean," she said, pulling back to look at him. "My father is Richard Grace." Marcus recognized the name immediately. Richard Grace, CEO of Grace Medical Industries, one of the largest medical supply companies in the country. The company that donated millions to Mercy General. The company whose name was on the new cardiac wing. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" he asked after a moment. Because I wanted to be seen for my work, not my last name. I became a nurse against my father's wishes. He wanted me in the boardroom, but I wanted to be where I could make a real difference. She studied his face. Does it change things? Between us? Marcus was quiet, processing this revelation. Then he smiled. The kind of smile that reached his eyes and made them crinkle at the corners. The only thing that changes is now, I understand why you always look a little sad when people talk about struggling with money. You feel guilty for having what others need. Eleanor's eyes glistened. Most people either want me for my connections or resent me for my privilege. I want you for your terrible dancing and your habit of stealing my French fries during break, Marcus said, making her laugh through her tears. And Eleanor, you should know something too. I'm not going to be a janitor forever. I'm 2 years away from my engineering degree. But even if I was, I wouldn't be ashamed of honest work. I know, she said. I've seen your textbooks in your locker. Advanced thermodynamics isn't exactly light reading. They danced until the evening ended, no longer caring about the whispers or stares. 6 months later, when Marcus graduated with honors, Eleanor was in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. Her father, who had initially been skeptical, came to respect Marcus's determination and integrity. They married the following spring in a small ceremony at the hospital chapel, surrounded by colleagues who had become family. Richard Grace walked his daughter down the aisle to a man he had come to think of as the son he never had. Years later, when Marcus had become a successful engineer and Eleanor had opened free clinics in underserved communities, they would still dance in their kitchen to those same old songs. They would remember that night when a janitor found the courage to ask a nurse to dance, never knowing he was asking for a lifetime of partnership with someone who valued hearts over bank accounts. Because real love, they learned, doesn't care about social positions or family fortunes. It cares about showing up, seeing each other truly, and having the courage to reach across the divide that only exists in our minds. Sometimes the greatest treasures come disguised in simple uniforms, carrying mop buckets and medical charts, waiting for someone brave enough to see beyond the surface. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that love sees beyond circumstances. Subscribe for more heartwarming stories that celebrate the unexpected connections that change our lives. And we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a moment when someone saw you for who you truly are, not what you do or where you come from?